April 9th of 1940 is the time when the Germans came into Denmark, and it was a complete surprise to
How
all.
old were you at the time?
Um, I was about 18, 19, and at the time I was working in a household, preparing myself, having to get a year's housekeeping experience before going into um, a nursing school. And I happened on that very day to be cleaning my bathroom windows upstairs, and I was hanging out the window when I saw this strange airplane literally within about 50 yards of the upstairs window, and I realized that it was a plane that I had never seen before. And I finished my job, and then I went down, and in the meantime somebody had turned on the radio, and we learned at that time about midday about the occupation by the German forces. And I spent probably about another year and a half on the peninsula of Jutland, and in this same small city where a small garrison of German soldiers were. The city was called Greno, spelled Greno. At the end of that time, I was accepted into the nursing school at one of the large municipal hospitals in Copenhagen, and I spent the remaining part of the wartime years there, working as a student nurse.
Well, let's go back a little bit, Mrs. Roberts. In 1940, when you were 18 and this first happened, the day before, let's say, what was your experience of the place of Jews in Danish society?
I was not terribly aware of the fact that there were Jews. In fact, we had several Jewish families in the school where I grew up, and I was never aware that they were any different from what I am. We were all going to a public school. We all turned up for our schooling, and we all went home to our small farming communities. I was one of maybe, I think there were about 25 of us in the class, and we all came from various smaller or larger farms in the area during our elementary school years. And thinking back, I know that probably about half a dozen of the children in my class were of Jewish descent. And I was never aware that they were any different from anybody else. They came to school like we did. They came to our birthday parties. We were invited to their homes for birthday parties. And we knew that they would go to a different place of church than we did. But so did a lot of other people. The Methodists went somewhere, and the Baptists went somewhere else. And as far as I'm concerned, they just belonged to a different church in my childhood.
Anti-Semitism was never really a feature of Danish society, was it?
It never was. I guess this is a little sort of jumping, but as I look back to that time, it seems to me that the fact that they were assimilated into the sort of daily living of everybody must have been the sort of guiding factor in everybody getting together, doing our best to give them shelter until we were able to get them out of the country and over to Sweden when the day came.
What happened? What were some of the restrictions that you then saw?
Of course, everybody were put on very strict rations, because one of the reasons the Germans wanted Denmark, amongst other countries in Europe, was the fact that we were a very, very highly productive agricultural country. And we, as I look back, I say, well, we were the larder from which they picked their daily food. And one of the things that happened was that the Germans went to the authorities and wanted a list of how many Jewish people were in Denmark, and were told by the King Christian X, who was on the throne at that time, that we have no Jewish people in Denmark. We are all Danes. And he remained in Copenhagen right throughout the war, and was a tremendous strength to all of us to see him come out every day on his horse and go out amongst everybody. And
Now you were living at this time in...
At this time I was in Copenhagen.
Uh-huh.
But no, I mean, really, to my memory, most of the wartime I was in Copenhagen, having moved and been accepted into the nursing school.
And in 1940, after you first saw the planes, how did the German occupation, or did the German occupation then follow immediately on that?
It was happening right at that time. I remember my father saying, I have been invited to go to a parade of the soldiers coming through town. And I said, well, I suppose that means you're going to put on your top hat. And he said, you better believe I am not going to put on any top hat. I'll wear my oldest cap and I'll wear my raincoat. But I will go because obviously we have to. And
did your father hold an office in the community, or?
He was a member of the county council at that time, and of course they all had to go out, and they all did, probably most of them reluctantly. But you know, when I think back on it, it seems to me that we were being encouraged by our elders to try to be non-aggressive. Don't try to be too nice, but don't try to be nasty either. And it's an unfortunate situation. We will have to live through it, and maybe we can find a way to make it a little unpleasant for them later, but let's just sort of wait and see, because as a single person we can do nothing, but if we can find a way to group together or band together, maybe we can find a way to make this more bearable. And of course this is what happened. You know, the underground movement was literally a banding together